Welcome, everybody. We're just going to take a few moments to make sure that everyone gets in here before we get started. So grab a drink and relax, and we'll get started at about 7:02. For the people who are just joining us, we're going to start in about a minute or so to wait for other folks to join us. So take a seat and we'll be getting ready soon. Well, welcome everybody to Celebrating the Black Excellence panel discussion today. My name is Sierra Johnson and I am a current Sheridan College student in the BBA marketing program. Thank you for joining us today. As we gather virtually, we would like to acknowledge that all Sheridan's campuses reside on the land that has been and still is the traditional territories of several Indigenous nations, including the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat, the Métis, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Since time immemorial, numerous Indigenous nations and Indigenous people have lived in and passed through this territory. We recognize this territory as covered by the Dish with One Spoon Treaty and the Two Wombat Treaty, which emphasizes the importance of joint stewardship, peace, respectful relationships. As we may be joining from different territories, we acknowledge that many diverse nations and territories you are joining from. Sheridan College affirms it is our collective responsibility to honor and respect those who have gone before us, those who are here, and those who have yet to come. We are grateful for the opportunity to learn, working, living, and thriving on this land. Tonight, in celebration of Black History Month, we invite the Sheridan College community to join us in a conversation featuring Sheridan alumni who are modern day heroes, who are making history right now with their work. We will hear from these amazing alumni as they share their stories and offer insight on how they continue to make an impact for future generations. Our moderator tonight is Clarence Ford. Clarence is a sought-after visionary who has worked with Cirque du Soleil, global celebrities, sports franchises, and Fortune 500 brands to produce live shows, TV productions, film, and commercials. This Toronto-based director, choreographer, producer, and teacher knows what it takes to entertain and exceed audiences' expectations on stage, screen, ice, and water. Clarence's innovation expertise led him to work on concerts for the late James Brown, Alanis Morissette, Olympic medalist figure skaters, featured events for David Foster, Stevie Wonder, and former President Bill Clinton's foundation. In 2013, Clarence founded Square Circle, a nonprofit organization that offers an innovative of engaging, educating, and empowering youth in the city's underserved communities. In 2015, Clarence served as the Para-Panem Advisory Council, planning the forum by drawing for artistic, government, and cultural communities to ensure that Toronto 2015 arts and culture communities were unique to the region while celebrating the broader Pan-American diaspora. He is a board member with Artscape, Humber College Event Management Program, Randolph College for the Performing Arts, to TO Live Foundation and POV, a nonprofit organization that helps marginalized youth breaks into the media industries through training, mentorship, job placement, and professional development opportunities. So with all of that being said, I want you to join me in welcoming Clarence Ford to us. Welcome, Clarence.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Very well, Sarah. I'm so happy to be here, and be a moderator is amazing. I'm looking forward to this. So right now, I would like to have everybody on my panel. Come on, Shelly, Nikki, and Al. And I would love for you guys to introduce yourselves, starting with Shelly.
Okay. Hi, good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity to spend some time with you. My name is Shelly Jarrett. I am a multiple award-winning entrepreneur, a magazine publisher, documentary filmmaker, podcaster, and a women's advocate. I am the mom of 2 adult sons. I do operate 3 businesses. One of my business is a consulting business, which I work primarily with women, helping them with their business startups and educating financial education on economic abuse. I also have a magazine that I publish 4 times a year. And I'm, like I said, a filmmaker. I'm also an immigrant woman from the beautiful country of Guyana. And I chose Sheridan College as a young adult, went back to school as a mature student in the social service worker program, and I graduated in 1994. So, and that started my career. So here I am now. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelly. Now, next I have to my center is Nikki on my screen.
Thank you so much, Clarence, and good evening, everyone. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. My name is Nikki Clark, and I am also a proud alumni of Sheridan College. I graduated in 1997, and I was in the early childhood education program as a mature student. And I'm very happy to also have served as a faculty member. I was an instructor in the Faculty of Early Childhood Education at Sheridan, as well as business development. So some of the things that I've done, I'm the immediate past president of the Ontario Black History Society. I am presently the national business manager for the Canadian Black Chamber of Commerce, and I'm also an entrepreneur. I have a talk show on Afro Global Television, which is carried across Canada and parts of Nigeria and Ethiopia. And I also have an online women's boutique. I hope you like what you see. And it's called Navon. And I also have a video production company and business consulting company. So it is truly a privilege to be here, and I thank you. Looking forward to chatting with you.
Thank you, Nikki, much appreciated. And last but not least, we have Al.
Thank you, Clarence, and I'm so honored to be on this panel tonight with my distinguished colleagues here online. And my name is Al Ramsey. I am the Vice President and Head of the 2S LGBTQ+ and the Black customer segment at TD Bank Group. I've had over 20+ years in the financial industry, doing various positions from community outreach, corporate HR, marketing, branch management, segmentations, and now my current position. I'm a really proud alum of Sheridan College, and I did marketing. I graduated in '97, and I'm just excited to be here. Really excited to be here and to discuss, Black excellence and actually Black flourishing. So that's a bit about me.
Thank you, Al, much appreciated. So today I would like to open up the discussion to the panel in general. And I've encountered this sometimes because of me being older in my age. I have gone through transitions in life and seeing where it's taken a long time for Blacks to get there and seeing things in the world of today. And so there's a thing I would like to ask and put out to the panel. Today, youth of color may not understand the transitions that they go through the pivotal moments in history as faced. Like, for instance, Martin Luther King saying, I had a dream speech in the 60s. And then, 30 years later, we have a Black president, and everything takes time. So I'm asking about the transition, the moments that you experienced in your life as a panel, and you just feel free to go out there. How did this impact you? And what transitions and moments do you think of today that you could talk about with the youth of this generation? So I'm just opening up to the floor. Or you want to go, Shelley?
Well, I'll go if that's okay with my fellow panelists.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, Clarence. And if I can be candid, I'd like to share, my journey as a Jamaican immigrant coming to Canada through the invitation of the immigration policy in 1970. My parents, young Jamaican parents, were invited to come to Montreal, which was the port of entry for many West Indian immigrants. And as a little 3-year-old, 1970, okay, I'll pause to give you a moment to figure out my age. Okay, you figured it out. We landed in Montreal and acclimatized to a new weather system, language, and also had to deal with something that my parents were not prepared for, and that was racism. And it wasn't, the subtle kind. It was quite confrontational. So I have to say that my early childhood experiences growing up really taught me a lot about resilience. It taught me about having a thick skin, and it also gave me the compassion that when I was in a situation where I felt that there was inequity, there was imbalance, there was discrimination, that I had the fortitude of will to stand up and to say that's not right, and also to advocate on people's behalf. So that made me who I am today. And we've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go. But I think I have to attribute a lot of that to just the experiences I had as a child, and I'm grateful for them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But I can bring this wealth of wisdom now to help others to overcome.
Thank you, old Nikki. Amazing. And so now, Al, I know you have a lot to say on this one.
And actually, Nikki, spoke so eloquently about her journey and her experience. And, for me personally, so I am also an immigrant to this country, and I'm Jamaican descent. So I grew up in Jamaica, though. So I was 18 years old when I, immigrated to Canada. So I have a different lived experience in Jamaica, right? And I grew up as a strong Black man in that culture. I had Garvey, we had our heroes. I see doctors, I see judges, I see teachers that look like me. So I had a different experience. So there's a bit of confidence that was ushered onto me with my community. But those were pivotal moments, and I think that was really taught to us as a young age, growing up in Jamaica, right? How strong a people we are out of many one people. So I came to Canada with that. And then when I came to Canada, let's talk about that, because that's when I witnessed some of that, pushback a little bit, that, you don't fully belong. Absolutely right. And I grew up in Brampton, Ontario, at 18 years old. So I was a grown man, but I saw those. So that was foreign to me, no pun intended. It was really foreign to me. I'm like, what's going on here? But, in a way that helped me as I pushed forward, and actually helped me when I gathered friends around, even early days in Sheridan, because I was a very confident person in what I was doing, and I knew my worth, right? But I saw the inequities and I saw the pushback, which was important for me to understand, for me to learn the Canadian history and important moments in our lives, right? And I know we all know what happened with Barack Obama. That was a very important moment in our history, that, whoa, we can achieve that highest level there in the United States president, and what happened with George Floyd also. So there's pivotal moments in our life, but we all have lived experiences, and that's the key here. As Black folks and as a Black community, it's not a monolith. So we all have different lived experiences. The key here to people on this line here is to understand our past, where we're coming from, understand the key moments, the pivotal moments of heroes that our shoulders we are standing on, and why it's important now. The road may be less, with obstacles, but there's still obstacles, but understand that we still have a way to go, and how they can pick up that baton now and accelerate and run. And I think so. That was some of my lived experience in growing up in Jamaica, but also here in early days in Canada.
Great, great. And now I come to Shelley.
So yeah, like for me, I came as a young adult here to Canada via England, and so your parents usually at that age or younger, education is the key. Like there is no ifs and buts about it. So for me, I was always very focused, and I remember as a young girl, I always wanted to. The word business administration came out of nowhere, but that is something that from very young, I was just always focused on anything to do with business. And so I found myself in different, I did income tax, like anything to do with money and numbers, I was learning that. So like I said, when I started college, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. First of all, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer, but the next best thing to caring for others was a social work. So I knew I wanted that. So I went to college, Sheridan College, Oakville, and I did that. And what I want to say is like, yeah, there might have been lots of biases and discrimination, but sometimes I'm so focused that I don't let those things bother me or stop me too much. I think that's one of the ways that I go through my life right now. I mix with different people, different cultures, and I try to learn from everybody what their cultures are. So it doesn't bother me too much. It's there, but I don't pay attention to it. So I would say getting my diploma, I use it in different ways over the 3 decades. Like the first way was I got the degree and then I went straight into the field of social work. I worked with women fleeing domestic violence, but I was younger at that time and did not understand the cycle of abuse. And so it became very overwhelming for me as a young woman. And I thought, no, I don't think I want to do this so much anymore. But those skills are transferable. You keep those skills. So the next best thing to do, my kids were little, I went into financial services. And I spent like 17 years in financial services. And again, I was able to support women, but from a different perspective. So I would say, again, I use those skills and that diploma. And then again, in 2008, when there was a recession and there was some challenges in the financial field, I couldn't do that anymore. I moved into entrepreneurship. I left corporate and thought, well, I've gained all these skills. Why am I looking for a job? And that's why I was encouraged to go and do a women's entrepreneurial course. And that's what I did. And so I was able to use those skills, use all the things that I had to really navigate the system and dealing with all the different issues that Black women go through. But like I said, I am so laser focused that I don't let it be a problem to me. And so that's what I do today. And that's how I've been able to navigate the system. I'm aware of it, but I don't let it keep me back.
Thank you so much. Navigate the system. That's interesting. It almost leads into our next one. And this is to Al. Al, you've worked 18 years at one place at TD. And people go in and out of jobs. But not only have you lasted 18 years, but you've grown, you've made changes. What keeps you passionate? The drive and the changes that you've created. You know, if you could talk about the pros and the cons and why you're still there.
Thank you. Yes, 18 years at one place, absolutely. It's a long time. So I've seen a lot in 18 years, and I've seen progression. I've seen the good, the bad, the ugly in general. But I would say what keeps me passionate and what drives me really is our people, our community. That's what drives me to do more and to be passionate about what I do in diversity and inclusion and equity. And, you know, I grew up with my grandmother. And you know the immigrant story. Mom and dad left, Jamaica, came to Canada. My grandma, so I'm an old soul. I'm actually I'm an old woman. I'm an old soul. And I just actually returned to Jamaica last week to have a beautiful going away service for my beautiful auntie, who's like a second mom to me. And I told her in my tribute, it's because of you that I am. I was always grown up by a community of people who lifted me up, especially strong Black women. They rallied around me when my mom left and my dad to come to Canada to pave a way for us. So I knew it was in my DNA. It's still in my DNA to give back because I see the beauty when community rally, the power of the collective. If it's not me, then who? And if it's not now, then when? I'm in a position as a vice president at TD Bank. I have a degree of power, of access. I do. And it's my responsibility to lend that back and open that back to my community to lift and raise each other up. But think about it, we talk about generational wealth, which is important. But generational wealth goes beyond dollars and cents. Generational wealth, the transfer of knowledge, education, the transfer of access, the transfer of network to our people. That's what keeps me up at night. And that's why I'm so passionate about this stuff, right? And I could go on and on, but really, that is really the nucleus of what drives me. It takes a village. It really does take a village. And when one boat rises, I think all boats should rise. And that is truly the power of the collective in our Black community. So that's what drives me. Each one must teach one. Each one, like what we're doing here right now, Nikki, Shelly, yourself, we're teaching 1 and 2 and 3. We have to do that. The power of the collective, everyone on the call, even the students in the call, teach 1, teach 2. And that's how we multiply. That's what drives me.
It's amazing. You all had such transformative careers, and and you've done really well and excelled and inspired. It's amazing. And Nikki, this is to you.
Mm-hmm.
For all the types of businesses that you've done and invested your time in today, how would I ensure the youth to find opportunities and success in these opportunities, to find opportunities and to create success within these opportunities?
That's a wonderful question. And I have to say, from my own journey, it was about finding a mentor, finding someone who I could connect with, who I could relate to, and who could teach me, could find the time to, pour into me. I have to say that, growing up as the only Black girl in the neighborhood, and up until maybe grade 7, I was the only Black girl in my classroom. So I was in a situation, and my parents prepared me that when you are in that view, you're going to be under heavy scrutiny. So my dad in particular prepared me to be very strong, to be excellent at what I did, because there was no room for errors. So with that mindset, I was prepared very early with his model and my mother's model that I had to work very hard to achieve. So that was the standard that was set for me very early. And then in terms of building my character, I learned from my parents as mentors that I had to give of myself. So I was voluntold from a very early age, I think from the time of 5, to give of myself. It was service before self. And but what that did was it helped me to understand personalities from a very early age, how to integrate, how to engage, and they taught me. It was a give and take, a very dynamic, relationship, which grew me into the woman that I am. So finding a mentor, very important. Giving of yourself in a voluntary situation, because it opens doors. It opens doors of opportunity, and it also creates relationships that can be lifelong. You never know until you go out there and to, put that energy in whatever passion that you have. For me, it was Black History. I volunteered with the Ontario Black History Society way before anyone even looked at me as a possible candidate to be president. But I just loved it, and I loved the connections, and I liked building, and I had great ideas, and I like to be acknowledged that those ideas may work or may not, but it was something that I was given the opportunity to do. So I think these are two really important things that I've learned that I think would be great building blocks for those who are trying to aspire to be anything. Find someone you want to model to be, ask them for their time, and give yourself to the community, and you'll be surprised what the outcome will be.
Oh, very nice. I thank you for that. It's very nice. Shelley, I'm going to call you a storyteller and a change maker. And that's what you do so well. And you're not afraid to raise your voice. I love that. And to let it be heard. And so what more would you do to accomplish continuing to raise your voice? What more would you feel? What doors would you knock on, or what hearts would you open?
Right. Thank you for that question. I think for me, I've just been very, I would say, very fortunate, and as well as having good people around me to support me, encourage me. I was encouraged, like I said, I never knew I had these qualities in me. I was told I had them, and, I decided to develop them and go for the big one. And it just happened, it worked. And so, but first I had to educate myself. So I did the good thing, and like I said, did the entrepreneurial course, and that led me on a whole new path. You don't know where you're going to end up with it. You just keep going, and you just stay positive, and things will happen. And so my goal right now, I'm lucky that I was able to use my gifts and talents in a positive way. I mean, we all have gifts and talents, and I think those are one of the things that we need to encourage our young people, because they may be wanting to do what their friends want to do or something, but we all have gifts and talents, and we really need to use them, because that is where our strengths are. And so I was lucky to do that, and with that build a brand that I can follow. And so, like I said, when I started the business, sometimes you start a business, but you don't know where it's going to go or what's going to really happen. And I was fortunate to start a magazine, because again, our skills are transferable. We can use them in whichever way we want. And so I decided to start the magazine, not knowing out of the magazine is going to come these stories that I'll tell, because apart in how it started in the magazine, it's a image, lifestyle, and business publication. And I always give women in the community an opportunity to tell their business stories, because many times we are ordinary women doing extraordinary things and nobody seems to pay attention. So I made it unto myself to, get that feature there. And out of that came some wonderful stories. And from those stories is what led me into the documentary, because I had no idea that I'd be doing documentaries. But as things change, times change, situation change, I think we are the best people to tell our own stories, because we live it every day. And so that's how I took up that cause. And I found I got better at it, because the first documentary I made, because of the Me Too, had happened, and I had even though I worked with women in domestic violence situation, I had no idea what Me Too was. And so I did some research. I love doing research. And when I found out what it was, I got passionate about, because it brought me right back to the work that I did many years ago. And that's how I took up the advocacy work again. And I did the documentary. 8 women from the 5 major cultural backgrounds told their stories, because again, in our marginalized and racialized communities, the media does not look at our stories. when the Me Too hashtag broke, it was primarily Caucasian women in the entertainment industry, in the political arena. And I said, well, what about our community? And that's why I gave it the name, What About Us? And that's how that happened. And to my amazement, these women told their raw stories, and the documentary went on to win multiple awards. And so this has been my path, and this has been my passion. And always, like I said, working with women. And even this documentary I did, it's not to do with women per se, but it's community development, because it's talking about 400 years of enslaved people, and it gets into that. So it's just a path, and each time I do it, I get more involved in telling our stories.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So now I'm talking to all the youth that are here, they're watching, all the students that are watching this. First of all, you have Shelley Jarrett, Nikki Clark, and Al Ramsey. Guys, go online, check out who these guys are. You guys see who they are. You know, it's really important, because what I'm leading to is like networking. And so I'm throwing something out to you guys. And I want this random thing. I didn't do this yesterday, but I would love to do, before we get into what I'm gonna ask, tell me 3 words, rapid fire, off the top of your head, for the tricks and tips you can give them. 3 to 4 words that you can give me. Who wants to go first?
I think, thanks for that. I think staying for young people is important to stay consistent. You know, find yourself like mentors, like us, like I'm sure some family members are mentors as well. And try to be around positive people that is going to encourage you and help you to use your gifts and talents to make change.
Okay, so now I'm gonna keep with you, Shelley. Give me 3 words. Just 3 words, action words, or some words that, just 3 words that from
Passion,
Passion's one.
passion, integrity, character,
Integrity.
because you also have to have those things to go along with your business for anybody to take you serious. You must have integrity. Yeah.
Okay, anyone?
I would say intentionality, consistency. You gotta have a goal in mind.
Wow, that's amazing. And last but not least, Nikki.
Trustworthiness, boldness, and innovation.
See, these here, what you're hearing from the 3 people on our panel here, is amazing words that you can pick up, because sometimes, you know, you get too much information. These are 3 powerful words. Take one of them. And if you stick with one of them hard, stone cold hard, they'll get you through it. So now, you know, I'm going to go to Al. What is it about networking? You know, what's the key? Mentoring. I'm going to put the both in mentoring and networking, if we can put the 2 worlds together.
Yeah, they're key. They're key, you know, tactics or strategies in how you build really alliances and build your personal brand. It's important. And actually, the word that I should have said before also is, whatever you do in mentoring or, you know, networking, you know, authenticity is important. It has to be key. If it isn't, and I think that both Nikki and Shelley touched on that, you have to have passion, but you got to be authentic in whatever you do. And really, you know, you have to lean in and engage. You know, Nikki is a perfect case study. She leaned in. She knew she had a passion for Black History Month. And she said, I'm going to follow my passion. She's going to be authentic about it. She volunteered at grassroots level. You made wonderful connections, because I know the OBHS. You know, TD has been a great sponsor for many, many years. One of my first sponsorship at TD Bank in 2005. They're government officials, they're centers of influences, they're leaders, they're business leaders. There was Al Ramsey there back then. Now I'm a VP. I would have known you, right? So again, it's how do you open up, right? The highway, your lanes, right? How do you open up that in your career? And networking is a lane that's going to open up your highway on the 401 to give you way more contacts and way more opportunities. Look what has led her, the president of the OBHS. Let me tell you something. When they were assessing Nikki's application, that networking and that volunteerism, that was huge equity in her build to be the perfect candidate, right? So it starts with that, right? Find your passion, what you like, right? Really do. And in your case, folks on the line here, if you aspire to be, a lawyer, for example, then something you're going to be passionate about that. So there are lawyer associations out there, the legal association, the professional association. Get engaged, volunteer, follow certain people, right? There's formal and informal networking, but there's no secret sauce to this apart from, I said, build on what I said about intentionality, get out there, build your personal brand, go out there and shake some hands, kiss some babies, make people know how wonderful you are more than your family members, because trust me, you are your biggest value. No one can be better than you, but others need to know. And networking does that for you. Their formal mentorship also, get engaged with that, and their informal mentorship. Just show up, lean in, engage. I'm a big believer of dual accountability and responsibility. We can sit here all day and say, organization need to do X, Y, and Z, universities and colleges need to do X, Y, and Z, and yes, they need to do that. They need to make sure spaces are welcoming, feel a sense of belonging, that you can achieve your full potential. But there's also a responsibility on us as people to show up and show out. You have to put some skin in the game. And this is one of the ways that you got to put skin in the game and lean in and do some elbow grease and get out there and volunteer and march and do what you need to do to be seen. So those are the tips that I would say that have helped me as I leverage mentorship, networking, and build my personal brand. And that's something, if you watch me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, whatever, listen, I am relentless. I'm building off what Shelley said. I am relentless of telling my story and controlling my narrative, building my equity, and that is my value to myself, my family, but to the greater community and just society in general. And no one can take that away from you.
Wow. Woo! I love it. Thank you, Al. Thank you. That was amazing. Now, I'm sitting there, I'm taking notes as you guys are doing it. I'm learning too. I'm serious. It's amazing. And Nikki, go for it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Al, for what you shared. It's beautifully said. And I just want to say that networking is a passion of mine. It's something I enjoy doing because I enjoy meeting people authentically. This is something that I like to do. I like genuine encounters. And I think the strength that I have through networking is maintaining relationships. I have long-term relationships, whether they be business or through, community connections. It's something that is an effort of mine to keep these connections, So one of the things that, I have as a value, and that was taught to me by a mentor, was to say thank you, to have an attitude of gratitude, and not just, have the thank you, but to really have a production of thank you. So that person on the receiving end understands how grateful I am through action and through word, to really mean it. And it also means being present when it comes to, establishing a relationship. It means being, showing up in spaces, showing support. If you add me on whatever social media platform, I'm liking your pictures, I'm commenting. I never think that I am in whatever position that I don't have the time to. I make the time because it means that much to me to say, Al, good work, congratulations, Shelley, you go, Shelley. And I'll make a comment and I'll, like and I'll share, because that's the type of person I am. And that's the value that I subscribe to have at a very early age. So it's about showing up, it's about being present, it's about being consistent, and it's about understanding that when people come into your presence, they know that you have value because you are solid. And it's not demonstrated through words, it's demonstrated through action.
Oh, guys said amazing things. Thank you, Shelley. Oh, thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Al. It's amazing what I'm hearing. Like, I'm even learning, and I've been in this business all my life. And so if I'm learning, and I've been in this business all my life, and I'm an old man, and I'm not afraid because black don't crack.
You look great, Clarence. And you're
so,
younger than me.
wish. But the whole thing is that I'm really keying in to the students here, really take this in, because why we're here, not only because it's Black History Month, this allows us with the program, but we're here, again, get their numbers, look at them online. It's key because this is what we're not just coming here and blowing steam in the air. We're here, we really want you to do well because that's why we are mentors. We want to build relationships with you.
I just want to add some context to what Nikki and also Al said. Just as Nikki, we've known each other for many, many years, been on our show many times, but I just want to add something here because as you remember, COVID happened and we all had to pivot. And so I tapped into, again, building relationships, I called Nikki up and I said, I have to pivot. I got to get these courses, the same courses that I learned 12 years ago. I turned them into video modules, but I'm not the expert at everything. I have to reach out to the expert. So I reached out to Nikki and she created a course for me. And those are the 5 courses that I'm currently teaching women how to start your own business. You can attest to that, Nikki.
Yes, that was
there
fantastic.
you go. I reached out to my sources in the community, and this is how we network, and this is how we build each other's business. And so we're all, moving ahead and working our businesses, but we got to use each other because we can't all be gifted in everything. We stay gifted in what we are good at and leave the rest to other people. Delegate to other people who are good at what they do and they make you look good.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to throw that in.
I love that story.
That's beautiful.
I'm so happy. Yeah,
Thank
guys,
you.
feel free. Also, you know what? Youth, all the students, I want you to pick up. Shelly came back in off script and she had passion. This is what I want you to see. These are the kind of things, these tips you can use about networking and these little things. There's so much you can learn. Not only what they say, what they do, what comes from their heart. These are really important things. And talking about courses, now I'm going to give Sheridan a shout out. The reason why I didn't go to Sheridan, I wish I did, but I didn't go to Sheridan. But the reason why I'm involved with Sheridan, because I'm doing a startup. And when I started doing my research, I knew from a long time ago, I've always heard about their program and digital animation and everything. They're like one of the top schools, or like 1 or 2 in the world. There's another school in England. And that's the reason why I figure if I want to do my project, I got to go to the best school in the world because I'll attract attention, at least if I got there. And that is the reason why. And so now you're looking at 3 people that are alumni. And I want you to share your experience as a student and also what led you to Sheridan in the first place. And I'll start with, I'm going to carry on. Shelly, you're on the vibe, so I'm going to go with you then. I'm going to roll with you.
Okay. Like I said previously, I thought I'd be a lawyer because I'm very inquisitive, always asking questions and want to know why and why and why. But I ended up in social work, of course. And so that's what I really wanted to do, always passionate about it. And as a young woman, I learned everything I needed to learn. Like I said, I stayed very focused on what I'm doing. I would spend some time in the field much earlier in my life. And I want to say it's a good thing that I did that because sometimes you don't know the future, but it would catch up with you. I'm happy to say I do have twin sons. My sons were 3 years old when I started the program. And, today I want to say that Sheridan has done very well for me. I was very emotional when I got the invitation to be here tonight because it took me back many, many years. And, a lot of times we don't like to look back on our past, but this kind of brought me to, wow. It's like I had to stop in my tracks and say, wow, Sheridan made me who I am today, to be honest, because you can go around the world, but you still got to go back to where you started. And I'm happy to say that over 30 years, my second documentary, my son is narrating in the documentary. So I think I've done a really good job. And for me, that is success.
That's amazing.
Congratulations. That's
Let me
amazing.
ask you a question. And Shelley, were there a lot of Blacks that went to Sheridan when you were there?
Probably not very many, if I remember.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
probably not very many.
And
But-
that did not affect you, or that you didn't even notice it?
I'm so focused on who I am that I talk to everybody, I get along with everybody. I really, things like that don't bother me, to be honest. That's my mechanism, how I focus, how I do my thing. I don't worry. I can't, because it'd be too negative. It's just all this negative stuff. I want to stay on the other side.
That's great. So now I'm gonna lead you to Nikki, the same question, your alumni, what attracted you to Sheridan? And also, what was your experiences going to Sheridan?
Thank you, Clarence, for the question. I mentioned earlier that I'm originally from Montreal, and I did go to McGill. I took the film and communications program with the plan to become a world-class journalist. And also I was witnessing the emergence of this amazing talk show host, Oprah. And I thought, yeah, I'm going to be a talk show host. So I said to my parents at the time, Mom, Dad, have a seat. I want to have a talk show. So you can imagine the response from strict disciplinarian Jamaican parents. They said, there's no money in TV. What happened to you? So the choices I had was I could be a lawyer, I could be a teacher, I could be a doctor, or I could be family disgrace. So I finished my program, and I met my university sweetheart at McGill, and we moved to Brampton. I became a stay-at-home mom. I had 2 children and a husband, and I said, you know what, maybe I should entertain the idea of teaching. How can I do that? I love children. What's out there? And I found a flyer actually about the early childhood education program at Sheridan. So I said, let me take a chance. I filled out the application. I had two kids and a husband. Had a 4-year-old daughter, a 2-year-old, and a husband. And I said, let me just see. And I filled out the application. I got accepted. Yay. And then I found out weeks later I was pregnant. Oh, okay. Yay. What do I do? Do I not go to school? What happens? And I just said, you know what? You're going to follow through. You're going to stick through this, and it's all going to work out. So I made it work. As a mature student, I had this baby bump, came into class, and I'm actually, I'm really I'm getting emotional thinking about how helpful, how caring, and how loving my teachers were. I felt like I was truly in an extended family, and they saw me, hobbling along the hallway, and they gave me some extra time to hand in my assignments. They really poured into me, and I'm really grateful for them. And they allowed me to bring my son to class and show what he did as an infant, especially in a course called Infant and Toddlers, which the educators needed to use to pass the course. And I was very much involved. I was very acknowledged and validated. And I fell in love with the program. And I said, this is what I want to do. But one of the things that I have to say that made Sheridan extremely special to me, and what drew me to my teachers, and I have friendship still with them after so many years, is an incident that happened when I was an intern. I was taking, as you're learning the program, you have to do a practical part of the program. So you go into a cooperative opportunity, and I went into one. I went to a daycare, and I won't name which one it was, but as a student, I witnessed some things that were really appalling as it relates to children of color. And I overheard one of the teachers say about me was that, what is she? That was the question that was posed. And the response was, well, she's Black. And the cooperative teacher said, well, she didn't bake long enough in the oven.
Wow.
So I took this and I internalized it and I shared it with my husband at the time. And I said, what am I going to do with this? This needs to change. Like, I can't just walk away from this. So I took it. I presented this information to my my teachers, and the reaction of just, they were on it. They dealt with it with so much grace and urgency, and they validated me and they protected me. And the outcome of that was the person who made the comment was terminated from the position. That wasn't what I wanted to happen, but I knew change had to happen. And there was a shift in terms of employment. And I was given this platform, which I wasn't asking for, but to say, you know, this is an example of why you have to stand up and you can't just let things go. And I have to say, if it wasn't for my teachers giving me that courage and that opportunity to speak up, things would have turned out differently. So that just built up another notch for me, that if anything happened to someone else, that I would do the same thing for them.
You're in mute, Clarence.
I was ruffling some papers. I didn't want to. Oh, I was. Yeah, thank you so much. It was beautiful. I you know, what a great story. And, you know, and you spoke from your heart. Again, there's a passion, you know, and honesty and integrity kept you there. And like, last but not least, Al, I'm going to say what I'm going to
thank you.
the question again, so that everybody remembers what we're talking about. And the students, as a student, what was your experience and what really led you to Sheridan in the first place?
So thank you. First of all, very inspiring stories and experiences from Shelley and Nikki. And I'm going to add on to, so I went to the Davis campus also in Brampton, literally about maybe 3 months after arriving in Canada. So think about little Al, 18 years old still, but, you know, arrived in Canada from Jamaica with a thick Jamaican accent, trying to find his way to acculturate. All I know, honestly, all I know is I wanted to go to school for higher learning and education, because that was instilled in me from a young age. I remember, you know, in Jamaica, and I grew up in rural Jamaica. I'm not from Kingston, Jamaica. I'm from rural Jamaica. And I'm proud of it too, right? I'm rural. I like rural, like little Al with goats in the countryside. And I remember though, you know, although we grew up with little, we have a lot of love, and it was all about, even back then we didn't know about it, but generational wealth and transfer of knowledge. Because your parents wanted betterment for you, so they do anything to make sure you get an education. And I remember writing on our little exercise book, we call them back in Jamaica. I'm not sure we call them here in Canada, but your little notepad, and I wrote, we all did it back then. Education is the key to success. Use it to open the door of life. We were driven from a young age. So when I moved to Canada, and I knew my mom and dad came to prepare a better place for us here in Canada, and when we family reunited after 5 years of not seeing my parents, really 5 years, from 13 to 18, I was a grown man when they saw me. That was a scene in itself when my mom saw me as a grown man. And I knew I had to do them. I had to, my family was at stake, my worth was at stake, and I wanted to do better for my family. My mom and dad, they gave so much for us. And I said, where's the closest college? I had no idea what a difference between a college or a university was. All I knew, I need to get to school. And Sheridan College was around the corner, literally I can walk, Davis campus. And I walked over my auntie and my mom, and I signed up. And you know what, looking back, my grades and my GCE and CXCs in the Caribbean could have gotten me into university straight, but I wouldn't change it. I would not have changed that experience of going to Sheridan College for 3 years. And then I, you know, went to third year at Ryerson, now TMU, and I did both. The reason why was Sheridan helped me acculturate beautifully here in Canada. I found a space at Sheridan. I felt that I was welcome, and I felt like I belonged there. I found a group of friends at Sheridan College that looked like me, They may have prettier accent than me at the time, but they but they welcomed me with open arms. I had Indian friends, I had Jamaican friends, I had Bajan friends, Trinidad friends. I had people that I could rally around and listen. They helped me. But aside from that, and actually, they are some of my closest friends to date. So we moved as a community, right? My closest friends today, we enjoy and we experience important moments in life at this moment. But going back to Nikki's point, even at Sheridan College then, I did not see any teachers that looked like me. And I'm sure that has moved now, the dial. However, not sure it was luck of the draw, but it seems from my experience and Nikki's experience, Shelley's experience, those teachers were very, very inclusive, and
Yes.
they took us as their children. And that's what that's what I know from Jamaica, because they knew little Al had a strong accent. They said, listen, take your time when you do your presentation. It's okay. They rallied around us and they lifted us up. And that's my experience, right? And that's why it's important that allyship matters. Inclusive leadership matters. We have to work together. And that's my experience at Sheridan College. And I look back, and the reason why, when anytime Sheridan College called me, I'm raising my hand, I'm going to give back, because it did so much for me.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something, it set me up for success when I moved on to Ryerson, now TMU. And let me tell you, that is something that I would always be grateful for, and I'll always give back, that we had something special. And from what I know from the leadership team now, I've met the president and the dean. We have something special going on at Sheridan College, and I'm happy to be part of that going forward. So that was my experience.
Wow, that is incredible, guys. This is incredible. You should just take a commercial right here and sell it as Sheridan. Forget about what they have on there now, because this is amazing, because it's so passionate. Thank you so much for this, man. It's amazing. So now I'm going to hit on Nikki. I'm going to go to Nikki and ask you about, this is a question. Use your platform for social justice, an advocate for social justice. And how do you drive action and activity? And has the response been positive for you?
Yes, that's a great question. I have to say, I'll use the example of the talk show that I started. It started right after I made this leap of faith to leave Sheridan. Sadly, 10 years as an instructor, I said, you know what, I'm going to be very frank with you. I believe I had a divine whisper. And the whisper was, remember what the plan was, Nikki? You wanted to have a talk show, get back to that. And I said, okay, I don't really know what to do. I only know that I need to start it. So I think a lot of people must have thought that I gave up a very comfortable and a safe position to try something that I really didn't have a lot of experience in, but I just knew that I had to do it. So I took a leap of faith and I started the show online before online became a thing back in 2008. And I started the show from my own selfish need to show something that was authentic. I wanted to move away from the baby mama drama and to highlight real feelings and real outcomes. So I invited people from all walks of life to come and share their heart stories. And in doing so, I had to also take my mask off and to show my vulnerability. But I believe that there is strength in vulnerability. So what happened was, it has created kind of a movement of conversations that matter. And people that come on, we dig into conversations that people may deem heavy. I've had survivors of domestic abuse, cancer survivors, like you name it, all kinds of stories. But from the moment of invitation, they made up their mind that they were going to reveal themselves, and sometimes for the very first time, telling the world their story. And in doing so, this cathartic release of the story healed themselves, as well as the people who were listening were feeling, wait, I'm not isolated in this experience. There's someone who's going through the same thing. So also causing a catalyst of change there. So what this leap of faith did was it created a community of change, and people were feeling comfortable. They're feeling safe to share their stories. People were being healed, and there were also resources that were provided to keep this domino effect of social change happening. So this little, leap of faith, 15 years now into the movement, and awards, multiple awards later, I'm so glad I took that leap, because it was a huge change for many people, and I realized that there were destinies tied to this chance that I took. So I'm grateful for listening to this divine whisper.
Wow. Thank you
Beautiful.
so much. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Now, Shelley, I have something for you. So, Shelley, you're a storyteller. And I'm going to ask you, like, where do you find your stories? Or is it, and when you do find your stories, is it about being a Black woman, being a woman, being a Canadian? What is it, the importance of that to you, to be an advocate, to tell that story?
Okay, thank you for that question. No, it's just, I know it's important to be intentional. I'm a very intentional person, but sometimes the way life is now, and there's a need, if there's a need and I can fulfill that need, I go for it. Like, for example, the documentary I just produced, I had no plans. It's nowhere in my journal, it's nowhere in my planning. It just, the Queen of England died, and I wanted, and there were a lot of talk, media, there's a lot of talk back and forth. Some people were very emotional. I myself, because I grew up in England for 10 years and always respected the Queen as a woman of empowerment. And there was another conversation about people from the African diaspora, primarily Nigeria and Ghana and Kenya and Eastern, that couldn't care less that the Queen had passed. And so I wanted to know why. Went into research again, and I know some Black history, but not all the Black history. I'm not ashamed to say I don't know everything. And so that my curiosity led me into wanted to find out more about enslaved people. And as I dug deeper, it got more interesting. And there's a sense for advocacy around that because of the atrocities that were done to us, and still work needs to be done. It's a struggle every day. And if I have a media platform, why not open these conversations? And what I want to do right now is just to create conversations, because I can't solve the problem, what has happened, but collectively, probably we can all solve it. Maybe not in my generation, maybe my grandkids, because it's a very long, complicated situation. And so my goal is to empower, and to have these conversations about how we can make some changes so that these things does not happen again, or our kids and grandkids has a better future than we did. So this is why I will continue to tell our stories, because there's so many stories to be told, and nobody, like the big media, I would say, the big machine, they're not looking at our stories. So we got to take up that mantle and take care of our stories, take care of our kids, because it's the next generation that's gonna have this amount of work. And if we don't set the stage for them, I don't know when it's gonna happen. So that is where my passion is. So it could be a woman's issue, it could be a generation issue, it could be Black, it's a human history, it's just a human story. And if I have the opportunity and the platform to tell it, why not?
And I can jump in there a little bit, Clarence, and you know what, it's so wonderful, the power of storytelling. And we each and every one of us on this call, on this screen, who's listening, we all have a story to tell. And you don't have to be Nikki Clark or Shelley Jarrett to tell those stories. You really don't. You don't have to be Al Ramsey, a leader at TD Bank, to use your voice and your power. That is uniquely yours. We have real estate at our disposal. Social media, for example. You have Facebook, you have Twitter, etc. And sometimes it shocks me when I look at folks and how they leverage that equity to shape the narrative and tell the story. Yes, you can have fun with it, which is important, but you have to be intentional also if you want to exhibit leadership qualities. And I would say, tell your story, craft the narrative. We each can do it. You don't have, first of all, let me back up. We're all leaders in your own right. And you have the power to impact people in your environment, in your community. There are moms on this call, there are brothers on this call, there are sisters on this call. We have our own circle to impact and influence. Use it wisely, craft your story. It's impactful, and that is the power of the collective, all of our stories. Let's control the narrative. And then you have beautiful Nikki and Shelley to help you amplify that even more.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for weighing in. And yeah, and the three of you, feel free to, cross talk and have the conversation, because it's amazing. And I want to bring something up to the panel now about racism and color. And so there's many types, and us being Canadian, we're different because we're not from Africa. And we're from maybe probably even born here in Toronto, or from a West Indian descent, Caribbean descent. And then you have the American Blacks that are totally different, right? And then there's even division within the American Blacks, light-skinned Blacks against the fair-skinned Blacks. Then you have racism amongst colors, you know what I mean? And so what I'm bringing up this conversation is to make youth aware of this. When you look at just me, no, there's greater than you. And it's to open our eyes and to see more and to understand is that we're all one. Because when you close your eyes, I did a show one time, and it was for Black History Month. And we did it. I said, I wanted to start the poem like this. And we start the poem in darkness. And I said, and I asked the poet to say, in darkness, there's no color, right? And all you're doing is hearing this guy saying this poetry. A slam poet. And so you're feeling the soul. So my question, or not really the questions, how do you feel about, you have this color thing, and then you go to your family, then you have this division within your family, then you have division in your community, between the Jamaicans and the Bajans or the Africans, and how do we deal with all of that? How do you as leaders deal with this kind of thing? Or what is it? I'm not afraid to make mistakes. Right. It's to be honest. And as you said earlier on, Shelley, about integrity, having that integrity. And I'm just bringing this out to you. I'll give you some time to think about this, because that's why I bring on. Take it and lead with it. I just want you to talk.
I'm just jump in quickly here, really, truly, to think about it. And again, I told you, my grandma raised me. She's a pastor too. So I have all these, proverbs and, all these sayings, and, sometimes, and the one I love is that we have to keep some of these things simple and go back to humanity at the core of all of this, right? And we all create these narrative about structure and class and race, but yeah, you're right. It's one race, it's a human race. That's only one race, right? Let's just start there. And if you apply the golden rule in life, if you do unto others as you want them to do unto you, just anchor on that is respect. It's the heart of this about respect. Really thinking, and you know what? What's in our control? What's in our control as a community? And I think that is what we need to do first and foremost as our community, to say the splintering of our community. What's in our control? And this is in our control to unify as one. And that's the old narrative of us infighting and the crab in the barrel mentality and all that stuff we talk about. It's time we break that vicious cycle. We have to. And the power of the collective, we need to understand our own worth and unpack that. But we're traumatized as a community. As a race, we're traumatized. We're told that we need to fight each other. We were sold into slavery. Blacks sold slaves also. So we have to think about that, you know, your mental slavery. And again, going back there, we need to strip all that down. We have a lot of trauma. We have a lot of that that we have to deal with as a community and heal and love. And as a leader myself, and yeah, I'm Jamaican, I'm Caribbean, you're right. I do not going to profess I know everything about other cultures within the Black community. It's not a monolith. And I'm on this journey of learning and loving also with my brothers and sisters that I don't know much about either. I've been to Africa, I've been to South Africa, that's it. But you know, that's where my jumping off point is in terms of we need to start looking at the commonalities of love and respect for one another in our community. And then we can go forward from there. And I'll pause there and let Nikki and Shelley jump in.
I would just like to say, how do I put this so it doesn't offend anyone?
Oh, you know what, Shelley?
As
Go for it, because of what I'll do, I'll help you, I'll support you.
okay.
The whole thing you said, integrity is honesty, right?
Yeah, as Black people, I think it's very complicated, first of all, because we're Black, we have different culture, different customs, depending on what part of the world they're from. It's very complex. But I think at the end of the day, like Al said, it's humanity, it's your humanity, it's values, how you were raised, and respect for each other and respect for your elders. I think those things are still intact. I don't know, the world is going a different way, but we got to remember how we were raised, and those are the things that carry us through. I mean, and being as a Black woman in business, I probably make it sound easy, but really it's not. Maybe Nikki can attest to that. It's a lot of challenges, even within your own people, your own community. How do I try to stay positive? For me, I don't have a lot of patience. My husband has a lot more patience than I do, to be honest. And he deals with things a lot, I would say, better than I do. And that, again, is from traumas in the Black community, different issues. So, but I try to work with what I can work with, deal with what I can deal with, and what I can't deal with, I leave it alone, and I just keep moving. I try to stay positive. Again, knowing what your gifts and talents are, you try to have people around you that have the same interests and the common interests and things like that. And so you try to eliminate some of those negative things, but those come before you all the time, and you're constantly having to, you want to progress, you want to get higher, but it's like you can't, like, it's complicated. We be here all night trying to break this down, but I think Al and Nikki understand where I'm coming from, what I'm trying to say. So it's a battle.
Yes.
It's an uphill battle, but yeah, believe in yourself, have love for yourself, have love for others, and respect goes a long way, and try to keep that integrity that I talk about, because those are the things that are gonna carry you through.
You know what? And I'm gonna go to Nikki in a second. And sometimes we don't need answers. We need to have dialogue. We need to communicate. We need to have, when the first Black Lives Matter started to happen, the problem I saw, there wasn't enough dialogue because people didn't understand. There's white people that didn't understand, you know? And the older generation, the young kids understand. And because I'm gonna lead to you, Nikki, I'm adding to this, but I'm gonna lead you into a segue. Like, to me, the younger generation understands Black culture more than the older because of hip hop. And because of hip hop, so when they had the whole Black Lives Matter, they had kids marching all over the world. And hip hop, you can go anywhere, and hip hop was it started with a Black culture, but it started with Blacks, but moved into a culture. So now I'm bringing the same thing to you, Nikki, on a whole nother level, where to say you're on the media and you do a talk show and you talk with all different types of youth, different generations of people, different cultures. What do you see? What do you feel? What dialogue would you bring up? That's my question to you.
That's a great question. And the only way to have great dialogue is to be an active listener. And to facilitate that is to be present. And I'll give you an example. I am not afraid to meet with anyone and speak to anyone, whether we align in values or not. I'm curious and I want to know what makes you tick. That's just the type of person I am. And I also have a heart of compassion to understand where they're coming from. I can empathize. I'm a little bit of an empath, so I have these feelings, I get it. And I can also offer what I have in terms of what I've learned in that conversation. But I'll give you an example of going into a place that many people probably would not want to enter. I was invited to a prison to speak to inmates in a prison in Ontario, actually. And I spoke to medium and high security inmates, a male institution. And fearlessly, I went in. I wasn't afraid. I just like had this heart limit. I just want to see, I want to learn, I want to talk, I want to show what I've learned. And I was there to present something on Black history. And when I went in, I immediately picked up fear. I immediately picked up resistance. And I picked up that I don't belong here. And the conversation that happened after my presentation was to, and I have to say, the majority of the inmates were Black, young Black men that looked like members of my family, and it broke my heart. And the conversation opened up to, they felt that they could say, I don't belong here. And actually the people around us, the security, had to stop because it was getting so deep and it was getting to the point where there was a lot of unpacking. But to me, that's the gift that I bring, where I allow people to be comfortable to share, and in that you can learn a lot about them. And I try not to judge where they've come from, and I try to share a little bit of how we can meet in the middle. So as it comes to the Black community, using that example, I've learned through active listening and educating, and also giving grace. I cannot expect perfection from anyone because I'm certainly not perfect. And I've learned to forgive and to let go and to just keep moving. So I hope that answers your question.
Oh yeah, you did. And I guess Sierra is here. Can I ask one more question? A very quick one. Is that all right, Sierra? Do we have enough time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So I have a whole thing. Every time I've seen in the past seen a Black history show, it was always about how can we get out of this, or it wasn't about celebration. Now, my last question I would like to ask everybody very quickly, and that we don't get long-winded because we have some Q&A to answer. Tell me the stuff that's celebratory, that you know, the highlights or something that has moved you and moved people, and happiness of us coming together, what really moved, tears or happiness or joy. And like, guys, just quick, short little sentences or whatever you can talk about, because we have the Q&A to go to, and I would love to hear that from you because I'm being inspired and I want to walk with the open heart. And
I could jump in quickly. You know, at TD Bank, we have an entire year of Black History Month celebration, but we have Black Health, Black Wealth, and Black Thought. And today, to close off Black History Month, at the end, the last was Black Joy, to celebrate who we are as beautiful people, you know, productive members of society, an integral part of this wonderful country. And we have had a celebration of Black joy. And that's what it's all about, right? We have so much to contribute. And so, yeah, there's so much that right now I have Black joy just watching my beautiful sisters on the call, just standing in your truth, and so powerful. That's Black joy to me, seeing you, you know, the best of the best in your field. This is Black joy. So, yeah.
I'm not going to say anything. Good girls, just jump in. You got to jump in.
Okay. I just want to say I'm just very grateful and thankful that I'm able to operate in my gifts and talents and do exactly what I was called to do. And really, I just want to continue to build my brand and to continue to evolve, and want to use my brand to transform lives and raise others up, and really to just leave a legacy as a Black woman, as a businesswoman, as an entrepreneur, to continue to be a world changer. So
Wonderful.
That's
Thank
it.
you. Again,
Amazing.
wonderful. I agree with you, Al. Nikki, go for it, girl.
Oh, I totally love that, Al. Black joy, that is beautiful. My Black joy comes from educating and sharing the beautiful contributions that Blacks have made an impactful impact in the world, and having people understand that $10 bill you have, that woman was the first Black
Yes.
woman to grace that $10 bill, Viola Desmond, and the movement she led for the civil rights in Canada 8 years before Rosa Parks said, "I'm tired, I'm not getting up from the seat in the bus." That's big. That's my Black joy, to share Black Canadian history.
Thank you so much. Oh my God, guys are
Wonderful.
amazing. I thank you so much. Okay, so I guess Sierra, you're going to take it over. SJ, go for it.
Well, Clarence, this is a hard one to follow up. Let's say, as well as Al, Nikki, Shelley, thank you so much. We have some great questions in the audience, and so I'm excited to share them with you. So our first one that we have is, how should one handle persons who show a prejudice against Black people in the workplace? I know that's a loaded question, but I love that.
Want me to do it? Want me to go for it?
Absolutely, Clarence, go right ahead.
When I've encountered that, you know what? It's like I always check out where they're coming from, because that's the first thing. I try not to get that cold shoulder because they don't know me. And if I was white, they wouldn't even think anything of it, because they're the ones that have the problem. That's the first thing I acknowledge. And so I always check out where they're coming from and being kind. And I can only do what I can do, and noticing it. And that's where I start. And I'm looking at the starting point, not to try to figure it out, but to have that dialogue. They say that I'm cool. Because if they knew me, if we're on the island living together, we have to survive. We have to love each other. And that's what it comes down to. So that's where I come from. X, everybody go on. I was just talking, give you guys time to think.
I think there was something, so when I said the question out loud, because I was reading it and you can digest it one way, but then when you say it is another, is a lot of the times people are just ignorant and they don't know the impact that they're making with their words or the prejudices that they have. And I think giving people grace, but then also understanding that sometimes you just have to say to them, hey, this is the reason of why your statement has weight to it, and my dad would always say to me, a person is ignorant most of the time when they're not racist or that they don't have prejudices against you.
That is absolutely true.
Within our...
No, you know what? I guess from my experience and in the workplace that I am at, it's non-negotiable, really, truly. It's non-negotiable, and we have no tolerance for that. But going back to what Clarence says, a lot of times it's about education. Really, it's about education. And the more we do that, and we got to create spaces actually to have difficult conversations and courageous conversations, really. And sometimes meeting people where they're at. But you're going to have those, there's going to be a point when, if it's really blatant and disrespectful, there's channels that you can go through, right? But in my experience in the corporate world, and I've seen people move along the pendulum of how they perceive Black folks, or they become more inclusive leaders. And it goes back to actually a lot of understanding, education, understanding our lived experience, and enlightenment. And I've seen people have, change and have moved in their perception of Black folks over time. So I'm in total agreement with Clarence in saying a lot of it's about, having those conversations, and it's a lot about education also.
Great answer, Al. Thank you so much. And thank you, Clarence, for your insightful thoughts. I want to go to Nikki and Shelley. On behalf of all of us tonight here at Sheridan, congratulations to the both of you for being named to the 2022 list of accomplished Black Canadian women. We can give a virtual
Thank you.
You know, you have both supported the advancement of Black women and girls and are leaders within your communities, you know, actively engage with other organizations that support Black women and girls. And I can go on and on, you know, I could go on for the rest of the time. But what does this mean to you to be named to this list of incredible women, including the Honorable Dr. Jean Argiston, and knowing that you are making history right now?
Wow. For me, I think it's very accomplished. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I'm humbled, and I want to be able to continue to lead, and that young people can look up to me and says, if she did it, I can do it also. And so inspiring young people is really what I'm about. And like, I would continue to, like I said, build my brand in a way that it encourages others, it inspires them to be better human beings. So I'm very, very grateful to be in the same line as Jean Augustine, to be honest, because she is Black history. So that's what I like to say. It's very emotional, but yeah. Thank you.
Very similar to what my sister was saying. I'm very humbled and I'm honored. And I have to say that, you know, what I do, I don't seek recognition. I do it because it's because I love to do it. I have a passion for what I do, and I'm very, very grateful for the acknowledgement. But what I'd like for Black girls and women to know is that through my example, that they don't have to give up on their dream. If the dream doesn't fit what the environment is saying, you know, I've had the voices around me saying, you can't, you should not, it doesn't look right, what will people think? And for a time I paused and I listened, but if they could watch what I'm doing, they realized that I had to step into my purpose. And sometimes I had to go through pain to get through my purpose. But once I understood it and I understood my assignment, then it was easier to find people I could align with and follow through. So never give up on your dreams and be bold.
Very nice.
So well said. So well said. I know that there are people in our conversation today that are, you know, inspired by all of you, because just listening in the back end, I am definitely inspired to do so much more. So thank you so much. And I want to go to Al. A huge congratulations to you as well for being named to the 2022 list of 100 most influential Black Canadians. This list, we should, yes, I pause for, yes, you can bow out. You know, this list acknowledges that you have made a profound difference in the lives of people of African descent and transforms the communities where they live. Al, what have been some of your first steps in the transformational process and change that not only for the Black community, but also for that LSGBTQ+ community?
Listen, building off what Nikki and Shelly just said in terms of, you know, their accomplishments. First of all, it is humbling, really, and we don't do this for the adulation or recognition. We do it because we're passionate about our community. That's why we do this stuff. The rest will follow. And I always say that this is in our control, that I want to give 110% to my community. I've always been a huge proponent of giving back, but you know, just thinking about it, you know, that little boy in Jamaica growing up, you know, barefoot in the hillsides with his goat, I would never thought that I'd be sitting here in front of you talking about, you know, being on any list whatsoever. But I know the platform I have, and I know what I can do and give back. And, you know, for all of us, we talked about, you know, the community is so diverse. And you just mentioned the 2S LGBTQ+, and it goes by Black Lives Matter, but all Black Lives Matter. And I am a huge proponent of that. It would be a Black woman, a Black man, a person with disability, for someone is to my identity. I got to show up and show out. This is my responsibility, the power of the collective. I am religious in that, disciplined in that, in bringing that forward, in standing tall. And, to be honest, it took me a long time to find my foot in the Black community. It took me a long time because I grew up with a lot of we talk about homophobia in the Black community, but you know what? We've come a long way. And I will tell you something, I'm standing in my truth right now. 20 years ago in corporate Canada, I'm telling you, I was shunned by a lot of members of my own community. 20 years fast forward now, I'm embraced. I am truly embraced and I can stand that is progress and that is learning. And that's how we lift each other up. Look for those commonalities of why we're so powerful, the power of the collective. When we move together as a unit, we are unstoppable.
Amen.
That is the key as we move forward for impact. That is the key. And that's in our control. That is in our control.
Wow.
Those commonalities, like finding commonalities with the people rather than things that you go, oh, well, they're different than me. I can't associate with them. I love that. It's finding I know Clarence had mentioned at the start of our Q&A of if you're on an island, it doesn't matter, what color you are. You got to make sure that you survive off that island, and maybe looking at that more so when we're on Canadian soil, when we're on land, that we're all one together rather than just individuals. We can support each other together. So I thank you, Al. Thank you, Nikki and Shelley and Clarence, for such great information. It's inspiring me, just like how Clarence was. He was like, oh, I'm so jazzed up for this. So for our last question that we have, Sheridan's Black History Month theme for 2023 is reconciliation, solidarity now. It's about recognizing the lasting impacts of colonism and the impacts of recommitting to greater reconciliation and solidarity every day. So what kind of legacy do you hope to leave behind that will play a part in this long-lasting structural change? And I open that to all of you.
I like to leave a legacy of knowledge, because knowledge is power. And like I said, we start that with communication, education, and empowerment. And always be prepared, because this is where I'm sure we've heard of the formula: opportunity plus preparation equals success. If we keep that close to our heart, we won't miss it. So that's what I like to say.
I would say really the legacy, and to build on what we just had the conversation, is about unity. Really, we are stronger together. And if we can do that in a unified fashion, we will create a more inclusive and a more successful future for our generations to come. That's what our responsibility right now. And we're in a movement at this moment. Let's continue that movement to unify us as one community. That's the legacy our forefathers would like us to leave behind.
Nikki, what are your final words?
Yes, I'd like to be an example of disruptive change by inviting people to not only say what they're going to do, but back it up with action. And that is my way of making change, by getting up, being present, speaking to people, actively listening, and rallying people, mobilizing people to make the changes that we need in our society.
Wow.
Clarence?
Oh, you know what? The hardest thing to do every day is to be happy. And to wake up every morning and to honestly be happy, to just make people aware of something as simple as that. And from that, everything can change your day. Because look at how many times and things in life that happen. And so it's like to understand, it's not really a legacy for me. It's just to make people aware of talking about happiness and also being aware of it, and to like wake up every morning and find something happy inside yourself. We just let that go, and that changes everything.
You know, on behalf of Sheridan alumni, I wanted to take this opportunity to thank everyone for attending tonight's event. You know, what an incredible night of meaningful conversations. Conversations like the one we had here tonight are critical for all of us to learn and grow. So I am so proud to be a Sheridan student and having these types of opportunities to join in our discussions like the one tonight and having our voices heard. So I would like to give a shout out to our amazing panelists for coming back tonight and sharing your experiences, personal stories, and advice. It means so much to us as students, and to Clarence for serving as a moderator extraordinaire, I have to say. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you all have a good evening and have a great rest of your week. Bye.
Bye.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Bye.
God bless, guys.
Night.
God bless.